It was supposed to be an ordinary morning for Thomas Hale, a humble farmer from rural Georgia who woke before the sun and fed his few chickens before heading out to tend his modest field. Life had never been easy for Thomas. His hands were calloused. From years of hard work, his boots worn through and his bank account barely breathing. But he carried a quiet strength, the kind that comes from doing what's right even when no one's watching. That same morning, 37-year-old Vanessa Langford, a wealthy real estate investor from Atlanta, was driving through the countryside on her way to a private retreat. Her mind was crowded with meetings, deadlines, and luxury, far removed from the world Thomas lived in. Dressed in designer clothing and scrolling through emails as her driver steered the SUV down the winding rural road, she felt untouchable, until everything changed in an instant. A deer darted into the road. The driver swerved, lost control. The black SUV veered off the pavement, crashed through a wooden fence and flipped into a shallow ravine near Thomas's field. From the distance, all Thomas could hear was the deafening crash, and then the terrible silence that followed. Without thinking, Thomas dropped his tools and sprinted toward the smoke curling above the trees. When he reached the wreck, he didn't see status or money. He saw a mangled vehicle and a woman screaming for help, blood dripping from her forehead, the driver unconscious beside her. "Hold on," he shouted, climbing into the wreckage, shards of glass slicing his arms. "I can't move, please," Vanessa sobbed. The fuel tank was leaking. Thomas smelled gasoline thick in the air. Without hesitation, he pulled open the twisted door with every ounce of strength in his body. Flames had started licking the grass nearby. He grabbed Vanessa gently, shielding her with his own body as he dragged her out, just moments before the SUV burst into flames. He went back, again, for the driver. When the paramedics arrived, they found Thomas on the ground, coughing, bruised and barely able to speak, but alive. And so were the people he had saved. At the hospital, Vanessa kept asking, "Where's the farmer, the man who saved me?" It took her days to track him down. When she finally found him, still in his old overalls, standing on his porch with his loyal dog, she couldn't stop the tears. "Why?" she asked him. "Why would you risk your life for a stranger?" Thomas looked her in the eyes and said, "Because no life is worth less than another. You needed help. That's all I saw." Vanessa was shaken to her core. Her world had always been built around deals, profits, and prestige. But here was a man who owned nothing, yet gave everything without question. She began visiting him often. First, to thank him, then just to talk. He listened like no one ever had. He spoke with a sincerity she hadn't felt in years. What started as gratitude quietly bloomed into something deeper. She invited him to the city. He brought her fresh eggs. She laughed at his jokes. He listened to her heart. They came from two different worlds, but somehow they fit. Months passed. Vanessa decided to leave her high-rise condo and invest in a small property near Thomas's farm. People whispered, a millionaire woman and a poor farmer? But neither of them cared. They had found something rare, something real, not built on wealth or appearances, but kindness, courage and selflessness. One crisp autumn evening, beneath a tree where leaves fell like confetti, Thomas asked her quietly, "Would you want to stay?" She smiled. "I already have." In a world often divided by wealth and class, one moment of compassion brought two souls together, and in that they reminded us all, humanity isn't measured by what we have, but by how much we're willing to give.